Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today we're going to be doing a Dark World deck profile. So I'm really excited to see you guys because this deck is an insane combo deck that can make some really amazing boards, which you guys are definitely going to see in the test hands for this deck. This deck is super fun to be able to play and I'm really excited to show you guys my list. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description for every single video, getting his signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Rainbow. Rainbow is a definite 3 of in the deck, and is one of the most important cards in the entire build, because this card is an awesome effect that you can special summon this card from your graveyard by returning a level 7 or lower Dark World monster that you control back to your hand, which is a great effect to instantly just be able to summon this card back from the graveyard. And it also has the ability, if this card is discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, you get to add a level 5 or higher Dark World monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. Then, if this card was discarded to the graveyard from your hand to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Dark World monster from your deck or graveyard to either field, which is a very interesting effect. But the cool thing is, this card can actually search out Grapha when it's discarded. We then play 3 copies of Grapha. Grapha is a definite 3 of in the deck and is an extremely important card for this build because it has the ability that you can special summon this card from the graveyard by returning any face-up Dark World monster you control back to your hand, and if this card is discarded to the graveyard, then you can target a card that your opponent controls and destroy it, which is a pretty good effect to just give you a pop when this card is discarded. We then play a single copy of Silva. Silva is a really awesome card as a 1 of in the deck. I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy of this card, but it has the ability if it's discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card from the graveyard. Then if it was discarded to the graveyard from your hand by an opponent's card effect, then your opponent must return exactly 2 cards from their hand to the bottom of the deck in any order, which comes up a lot of the times with your copy of your Grapha Dragon Overlord of Dark World, which is great to combo this card with. We then play 3 copies of Snow. Snow is an awesome 3 of in the deck. If this card does get discarded to the graveyard, you can add any Dark World card you want from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect to basically be able to search out any Dark World card that you need. We then play a single copy of Beige. Beige is an awesome normal summon in the deck because you usually don't normal summon all that often in this particular deck, but this card just helps you out because you can normal summon it to your side of the field, bounce it back to hand, and then summon out a copy of Rainbow to your side of the field or your copy of Grapha to your side of the field. And it has a really good effect that if it's discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card from the graveyard, which is great to just get this card on the field. We then play 3 copies of Genta. Genta's a great 3 of in the deck. This card super helps out the deck because you can only special summon this card once per turn, but you can discard this card to the graveyard to add the Gates of the Dark World from your deck to your hand, which is not a once per turn effect, which is super cool that you can basically just discard this card or send this card to the graveyard and then grab a copy of Gates, which is really good. It also has the ability, if this card is banished and you control a Dark World card, you can special summon this card, which is a great effect to get this card on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Brow. Brow is basically the upstart goblin of the deck. If this card is discarded to the graveyard, then you can draw a card, which is just great to be able to do with this particular deck. We then play a single copy of Cerule. Cerule is a good 1 of in the deck, and if it's discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard to your opponent's side of the field, which is a neat effect to be able to just give this card to your opponent, which is pretty good in this particular build. So, that's it for the Dark World monsters. Let's get into the Danger monsters and the tech monsters we're playing in the deck. So for the Dangers, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Danger Bigfoot. Danger Bigfoot is a definite 3 on the deck because this card is a level 8 monster. And all of your Danger monsters share a common effect that you can reveal them in your hand and your opponent randomly chooses 1 card from your entire hand. Then you discard the chosen card. Then if the discarded card was not Danger Bigfoot, you can special summon 1 Danger Bigfoot from your hand. And if you do, draw a card. They all have unique effects when they're discarded to the graveyard, which is really neat for this particular deck, because this card has the ability, if this card is discarded, then you can target one face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. And you can only use this effect to Danger Bigfoot once per turn. We then play a single copy of Danger Thunderbird. Danger Thunderbird is also a level 8 monster, which can help you out going in for XZ plays, but it also has a great effect that if this card is discarded, then you can target a set card that your opponent controls and destroy it, which is a pretty good effect. We then play a single copy of Danger Ogopogo. Danger Ogopogo is a great one of the deck because it's an additional name for your dangers, but it also has the ability to discard to the graveyard. You can send a danger card from your deck to the grave, except another copy of this card, but we're usually never using that effect. We're just basically summoning this card out to our side of the field as a level 8 so that we can go in for some rank 8 XZs. We then play just 2 copies of Nessie. I don't want to clog too much with Nessie, which is why I just play 2 copies in this particular build. You can play 3, but I personally just like 2 in this build, and it's helped a lot just to play 2 copies. In playtesting, I did play 3, but I cut it down to 2 because I kept seeing too many of the same name of danger cards. But if this card is discarded, then you can add a danger card from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty good effect. We then play 2 copies of Danger Mothman. Danger Mothman is a really good 2 of in the deck because if this card is discarded, both players draw a card and then both players discard a card, which is a great effect to be able to use with all of your Dark World cards. We then play 2 copies of Danger Chupacabra. Danger Chupacabra is really neat in this deck, and I really love it because it is actually a fiend, which can help you out a lot in this particular build. And also has the ability, if it's discarded, you can target a danger monster in your graveyard, except another copy of this card, and special summon it. We then play a single copy of the Danger Noodle or Danger Tsuchinoko, which is a really good one of the, if this card is discarded to the graveyard, you special summon this card. So basically, regardless when you activate this card's effect, you're always special summoning it, which makes it really good. We then play a single copy of Danger Jackalope. Danger Jackalope is one of the most powerful danger cards in the entire archetype, because if this card is discarded, you can special summon out one danger monster from your deck in defense position, which is great to instantly get the exact danger you wanted on the field. We then play a single copy of Zaphros the Elite. Zaphros the Elite is really good in this deck because you can bounce a card off your side of the field back to your hand, special summon this card from the graveyard, and if you do, you take 400 points of damage, which is not that big of a deal, but it is a once per duel effect. I really love this card as a 1-of in the deck. Sometimes you will discard it to the graveyard, and then you can just bring it back to your side of the field, which is great to make rank 4 XZs. We then play a single copy of Nico Main King. Nico Main King can basically end your opponent's turn, which is super cool about this deck, because during your opponent's turn, when this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, it becomes the end of the turn, which is great for this deck to be able to combo with your copy of your Dragon Lord of Darkworld. This card is so good to be able to combo Nico Main King, because if you have this card on the field and Nico Main King in the hand, the first effect that your opponent uses is going to make it where it basically makes your opponent discard a card from your hand. So you discard the copy of Nico Main King, and it essentially becomes your opponent's end phase, essentially skipping their turn, which is really neat. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Card Destruction. Card Destruction is just too good not to play as a 1-of in this deck, because both players discard their entire hands, which will make all of our Dark World monsters go off, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Dark World Archives. Dark World Archives is really neat in this deck, because this card has the ability that during your main phase, you can discard a Dark World monster, and if you do, Dark World monsters that you currently control gain attack equal to their level of the discarded monster had in your hand times 100 until the end of the turn, which is great to be able to just discard one of your Dark World monsters, but you have to control a Dark World monster in order to discard. But this card also has a great effect that if a monster whose original type is Fiend is discarded from your hand by the effect of a Dark World card or an opponent's card effect, even during the damage step, you can discard 1 card to be able to draw 2 cards, which is a great effect because all of your Dark World monsters effects will go off by this card. We then play 2 copies of Dark World Ascension. This card is so good in the deck, and it's just so powerful because this card is basically the fusion spell that you're going to be using to fusion summon out our extremely powerful boss monster, which is Grapha, Dragon Overlord of Dark World. But this card has a great effect that during the main phase, you can fusion summon 1 Fiend fusion monster from your deck by banishing materials mentioned on it from the field or grave. And if a fusion summoning of a Dark World monster if this way, then you can also discard monsters as material, which will make your Dark Worlds go off. And during your main phase, if this card's in the graveyard, you can add this card to your hand and then discard one Dark World monster from your hand, but you can only use each effect this card once per turn. We then play 3 copies of the Gates of the Dark World. This card is so important for the deck and is a definite 3-of that all Fiend monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense, and once per turn you can banish a Fiend monster from your graveyard, discard a Fiend monster from your hand, and then you draw a card, which is a great effect to be able to use with this deck to just basically get you some pluses, which is just really nice. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Grapha, Dragon Overlord of Dark World. This card is insanely powerful and is a definite 2-of in the deck. This card is such a good card that it just takes a copy of Grapha plus any dark monster to be able to make this card, and when your opponent activates a monster effect or a normal spell or trap card while you have a card in your hand, quick effect, you can activate this effect that the activated effect becomes your opponent discards 1 card, making it so your opponent is forcing you to discard 1 card, which is why it's so powerful to play Nico Main King in the deck to combo with this card to be able to discard that card to the graveyard and end your opponent's turn, which is just so cool. This card also has the ability, if this fusion summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, then you can special summon 1 Grapha that is in your graveyard, which is just really cool to just replace it on your side of the field. I really love that effect, and then each player with a hand discards a card, which is so good to be able to basically just replace this card with a copy of Grapha and then discard a card. We then play a single copy of Coach King. Coach King is so powerful in this deck. This card basically says draw 3. It has the ability to detach a material from this card to draw a card, reveal it, and if it's a monster, you inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent, but you can't conduct your battle phase this turn, and you can activate this effect up to thrice per turn, which is insanely powerful because it can only have 3 materials, so you can basically do 2,400 points of damage to your opponent because we're pretty much only playing monsters in the main deck anyways, and on top of that, you're also going to be able to draw 3 cards. We then play a single copy of number 97. Number 97 is really good because you're going to use this card to either summon out a copy of number 38, which is a spell negate, or your copy of number 100 to OTK the opponent. This card can get absolutely massive when it's on the field, which is super cool because it gains 1,000 attack points for every rank of a monster on the field, which with just this card and your copy of number 97, it's basically going to go up to 9,000, which is super cool. We then play a single copy of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller just shuts down the graveyard, which is really nice depending on your matchup. 1 copy of number 60. Number 60 is insanely powerful in this particular deck because draw 2 and discard 1 is really good in Dark World. We then play a single copy of Underworld Goddess. Underworld Goddess is really good to break your opponent's board, just to be able to out a really powerful monster that your opponent might have that we can't out by another means. But this card is also a Fiend monster, which is really neat. We then play a single copy of Soryuja. Soryuja is just really good because it's super easy in this particular deck to put multiple monsters on the field with different names, and drawing 4 and then putting 3 back to fix our hand is always nice in this deck. And then also being able to special summon a monster from our hand is really good. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa because again, it's very easy to establish a 4 material Appaloosa with your copy of Grapha, essentially having an answer for every card in your opponent's hand, which is really nice. We then play a single copy of Unicorn. Unicorn is here to spin stuff. 1 copy of Phoenix. Phoenix is really good in this deck to pop spells and traps. A copy of Mudracker from the Underworld. This card is basically a walking monster reborn, but the only downside of this card is it does lock you into Fiend monsters, which is a big downside to this card, so make sure that you watch out for that effect. We then also play a single copy of IP Masquerena. IP Masquerena is really good as a 1-of in this deck to be able to link summon into Unicorn during the opponent's turn. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Dark World before, you definitely should give this deck a try because it's extremely powerful, especially with the structure deck just being released recently. And you guys should definitely check out the test hands coming to the channel soon if they're not already on the channel, which you guys should definitely check those out. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.